Kitchen Nightmares brought us into restaurants across America and the UK, introducing us to passionate chefs, dedicated owners, and hardworking staff members who were fighting to save their dreams. While Gordon Ramsay helped many of these establishments turn their fortunes around, time has sadly taken its toll on some of the show's cherished participants. Today, we pay tribute to those members of the Kitchen Nightmares and Hotel Hell family who are no longer with us. Each of these individuals brought their own unique story. Some were stubborn, yet passionate. Others were humble and eager to learn. While their episodes captured them during challenging times, they were all real people with real dreams, families, and legacies that extend far beyond what we saw on television. This video remembers these restaurateurs and chefs, celebrating their contributions to the culinary world and honoring the mark they left on one of television's most unforgettable shows. Our story begins in Montclair, New Jersey, at Leone's Restaurant and Pizzeria. In 2011, during Season 5 Kitchen Nightmares, Chef Ramsay met Rosemary Leone, known affectionately as Mother Rose, a seasoned restaurateur with over 3 decades of experience. Before Leone's, she had already found success with another successful venture, Mexicali Rose, also in Montclair. In 2008, life took an unexpected turn when Rose fell into a coma following complications from what should have been a routine kidney stone operation. Her son Michael stepped forward to manage the business, but without any restaurant experience, the establishment began to decline. When Rose finally returned to the restaurant she'd proudly run for 14 years, she found it unrecognizable. Her life's work was slipping away, with losses mounting to $4,000 per week. Rose's call to Gordon Ramsay wasn't just about saving her failing restaurant. It was a mother's plea for help in teaching her son the skills he needed to succeed.
Michael needs to step up to the plate. Chef Ramsay needs to kick Michael in the ass.
Through Chef Ramsay's guidance, Leone's transformed into a modern Italian bistro. By the episode's end, Michael had grown so much in his role that Ramsay left confident in his ability to carry forward his mother's legacy.
I don't want you smelling that. No, not with your state of health. I don't want you back in a coma. Taste it down. Quick! Ah.
Tragically, in April 2014, Rosemary passed away at the age of 64. She had touched countless lives, building a devoted following throughout New Jersey and beyond. Her warm presence and dedication to her craft left an unforgettable mark on all who knew her. Today, Leone stands as one of Kitchen Nightmare's enduring success stories, still serving the Montclair community under Michael's leadership. He continues to honor his mother's memory, regularly sharing tributes to the woman who built not just a restaurant, but a lasting legacy in New Jersey's culinary landscape. Our next story takes us to Mount Sinai, New York, where Carolyn and Billy LeRoy owned Handlebar, a struggling establishment they'd purchased despite having no prior restaurant experience. As their business faltered, the couple faced the very real threat of losing their home to mounting financial pressures.
There's Gordon Ramsay.
How do you know?
Because I just talked to him on the phone.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When Chef Ramsay arrived, he found more than just a dated 1980s interior. He met Billy, a former construction worker who had purchased the restaurant a year earlier. However, his lack of restaurant experience led to misguided decisions. The transformation of Handlebar became one of Kitchen Nightmare's most transformative makeovers. Ramsay's team modernized the space into Long Island's first gastropub, celebrating its rebirth with an unforgettable motorcycle rally. The event brought in Twisted Sister lead singer Dee Snider, who joined the celebration alongside Billy and Chef Ramsay.
I never would have imagined here I would get on my bike and ride with Chef Ramsay and Dee Snider's.
WWE legend Mick Foley also made a special appearance during the episode, adding to its memorable moments. In November 2015, Billy LeRoy lost his battle with cancer. Those who knew him remembered a genuinely nice man whose warmth and dedication to his staff set him apart in the restaurant industry. While his time on Kitchen Nightmares showed his struggles as a restaurant owner, It also revealed his character. Someone who faced challenges with dignity and treated others with kindness, even during the most difficult times. The impact of Kitchen Nightmares extends beyond just the owners. Sometimes it's the staff members who touch our hearts and stay in our memories. At Charlie's Italian Bistro in Laverne, California, one such person was server Genevieve Gutierrez. The restaurant itself was owned by Tatiana Leva, a former employee who had purchased the establishment. Out of sentiment, she kept everything exactly as it had been, from the menu to the chef. But it was Genevieve who captured viewers' attention during Chef Ramsay's visit.
It's not your typical lasagna, so be prepared for something different.
What is Genevieve saying?
While Tatiana urged her staff to be cautious with their words, Genevieve stood out for a refreshing candor. When Chef Ramsay sat down to try the food, she didn't hesitate to tell him exactly what she thought of it, displaying a sincerity that would make her one of the show's most beloved personalities.
This has been going on for like a month or two now. He's just been sending out bad shrimp, and we don't know why.
Genevieve doesn't shut up.
At just 21 years old, Genevieve tragically passed away from complications due to epilepsy. She was more than just a server. She was an aspiring musician who loved performing rock songs on stage, sharing her passion for music with others. Her honest spirit and vibrant personality left such a lasting impression that even today, more than a decade after her passing, people continue to leave messages of remembrance on her online obituary page. Genevieve is remembered not for controversy, but for her genuine nature and unwavering truth. Our journey takes us to the Hamptons in New York to Finn McCool's, an Irish bar owned by Buddy Mazzio, a retired police officer with an extraordinary life story. During the first season of Kitchen Nightmares, Chef Ramsay encountered a restaurant in turmoil. Family tensions ran high, particularly between Buddy and his son Brian, who served as the chef.
People see Brian as taking advantage of me all his life. If he wasn't my son, I'd have fired his ass out of here.
The menu had lost its way, filled with fried foods and unusual items like Irish spring rolls that strayed far from authentic cuisine. Buddy is regarded as one of the friendliest owners on Kitchen Nightmares, even displaying a sense of humor when Chef Ramsay seemed to dislike all the dishes upon his arrival.
I don't even think he likes the water.
Under Ramsay's guidance, the restaurant found new life with fresh, authentic Irish dishes. The centerpiece was a homemade shepherd's pie, made using Ramsay's own family recipe. When Ramsay returned for a follow-up visit, he learned Buddy had suffered a heart attack, though he was recovering well at the time. Soon after, Buddy received an offer he couldn't refuse and sold Finn McCool's. But Buddy's story was far from over. Rather than retiring, he pursued his passion for investigation, earning his PhD in criminal justice and establishing his own firm, A. Mazzio Professional Investigations. In 2023, Brian shared news that his father's health had declined. In a touching final moment that spoke volumes about Buddy's character, he gathered his sons for one last wish, to share a beer together. With Guinness in hand, he savored that precious moment with his boys. Buddy passed away in January 2023, leaving behind a legacy that stretched far beyond his time on Kitchen Nightmares. From police officer to restaurant owner, and finally to private investigator, his was a life lived to the fullest. Our next story takes us to Long Beach, California, to Nino's Italian restaurant. When Vincenzo and Ingga Cristiano arrived in America, he from Italy, she a survivor of World War II Germany, they brought with them a dream of creating something special. That dream became a reality in 1958 when they opened Nino's. When Gordon Ramsay visited in 2012 during the 6th season of Kitchen Nightmares, He found this immigrant success story in transition. After Vincenzo was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and stepped down, the business began a downward spiral under the management of Ingga and their eldest son, Nino. The episode became known for several memorable moments, including Nino's earnest defense of his work ethic, pointing to photos of him cleaning as proof of his dedication.
These are me cleaning and pulling down all the bottles, every single bottle.
I've never seen pictures of cleaning.
During a tense family gathering with Chef Ramsay present, his brother Michael's impression of Nino's customer service style became one of the show's most quoted scenes.
Just like last night, he ran up to every table and said, "Hello, my name's Nino."
While Ramsay implemented changes to modernize both the restaurant and menu, Nino eventually returned to their old ways, explaining that their regular customers preferred their original menu and decor. Behind this kitchen nightmare story lay a remarkable family journey that began decades earlier. Vincenzo arrived in America with nothing but his family, faith, and a few suitcases, but his entrepreneurial spirit would help shape the city. He successfully fought City Hall to allow outdoor dining in Long Beach, pioneering the restaurant patios we see today. Vincenzo passed away in 2014 at age 90. 2 years later, just after celebrating their 58th anniversary, the family decided to close Nino's doors. Without their father, it wasn't the same. In 2021, Ingga's own remarkable journey came to an end. Born in Germany in 1934, she had survived World War II, watching bombs fall overhead before being evacuated to a farm with her sister. She went on to beat breast cancer twice, and her impact in Long Beach was so significant that the city council closed in her honor on May 18, 2021. Both Ingga and Vincenzo were devoted dog lovers, having adopted numerous pets over the years, with a particular fondness for German Shepherds. Additionally, they also permitted dogs on their patio when such a policy was uncommon among restaurants at that time. Their daughter, Karina, carries on this tradition today, caring for multiple dogs and continuing her parents' legacy of compassion. The Grasshopper also was a family-run Irish pub in Carlstadt, New Jersey, where a $3 million investment became tangled in a web of family tension. Chief, a seasoned restaurateur with 4 decades of experience, watched in growing frustration as his son-in-law, Mitch, retreated to his office instead of managing the kitchen. Chief's daughter, Maureen, was caught in an exhausting cycle of mediating between the two men.
Hi, this is my dad, Eddie. They call him Chief.
Chef Ramsay, welcome. I thought you were a small little puppy.
Oh, no.
When Gordon Ramsay arrived, their dysfunction had poisoned the entire operation, with Chief blaming Mitch's incompetence, and Mitch countering that his father-in-law's interference was the real problem. When Chef Ramsay tried the food at the Grasshopper, he was particularly disappointed with their shepherd's pie.
Well, fuck me, that wasn't shepherd's pie. If you went to Dublin and you served shepherd's pie like that, they would shoot you.
Despite the fact that the Grasshopper also was part of a successful chain of Grasshopper pubs, and the fact that Ramsay intervened, they still couldn't mend the deep family rifts. The Grasshopper also closed its doors in October 2012, ultimately unable to survive the weight of its internal conflicts. Edward Eddie Fitzpatrick, known as Chief, passed away in February 2020. Chief came to America from Ireland in 1956 with little more than determination and a strong work ethic. He opened his first Grasshopper pub in Cedar Grove, New Jersey in 1983, which grew into a successful chain of 5 locations, in addition to the other bars he owned in New York. Despite the lack of success at the Grasshopper also, his other establishments became gathering places where both Irish immigrants and Americans of all backgrounds could experience the warmth of Irish hospitality. From Ireland to America, Eddie exemplified the immigrant success story. Our journey takes us across the Atlantic to Inverness, Scotland, where Barry Larson went from introducing Scotland to KFC and Wimpy to dreaming of Michelin stars. When he opened La Riviera in 2004, it represented a £2 million gamble on elevating Scottish cuisine beyond the ordinary. But even with top talent, including French chef Louis Lefebvre and a kitchen team with Michelin star experience, Barry's ambitious vision struggled to find its audience. Chef Ramsay did his best to convince both the kitchen staff and Barry of the importance of keeping things simple instead of unnecessarily complicating them. He even demonstrated this by ordering scotch at the bar, emphasizing that you don't mess with something that is already both simple and good.
I'll try to explain in terms that any hot-blooded Scotsman will understand.
And one for Barry, please, because obviously Barry's paying.
Never one to give up, Larson adapted to the challenges. He rebranded the Riviera as Abstract and opened a more casual establishment next door called Contrast. When Abstract faced difficulties while Contrast flourished, he pushed forward with his fine dining vision, expanding to Edinburgh with a second Abstract location in 2007. Barry Larson passed away in June 2023, leaving behind a lasting legacy in Scottish hospitality. While his fine dining ventures may not have achieved the success he envisioned, his earlier work had a big impact on Scotland's dining culture. Before appearing on Kitchen Nightmares, Larson had already made his mark by introducing Scotland to major international chains like KFC, Wimpy, and Harry Ramsden's, building a multi-million-pound fortune in the process. Today, Contrast still operates in the original La Riviera location at the Glen Moriston Townhouse Hotel, serving as a reminder of a man who never stopped believing in the potential of Scottish dining. Our next story takes us to Derby, England, where La Gondola restaurant used to be quite the spot, a fancy Venetian-style place that opened back in 1968. When Gordon Ramsay showed up in 2006, what he found was like stepping into the 1970s, with owner Daniela Bayfield trying her best to keep her dream investment going. The place meant everything to Daniela. She'd celebrated her 21st birthday there, and even had her wedding reception in its halls. She bought the whole thing, a 125-seat restaurant plus a 21-bedroom hotel, for £500,000 using money from her divorce settlement. The restaurant that used to be packed was now barely getting any bookings, even on what should have been their busiest nights. Gordon tried his best to help turn things around during the episode. We even get to see Gordon dancing.
But somehow, I managed to get the place swinging again.
But sadly, the boost from Kitchen Nightmares didn't last, and La Gondola closed in 2009. After the venue shut down, the building sat empty for years, becoming a makeshift shelter for homeless people. Daniela had an idea. Why not turn it into a proper refugee shelter? This meant something special to her because she herself was born in a Polish refugee camp near Cambridge to an Italian refugee mother and a Polish refugee father who'd come to the UK after World War II. But the building had been vandalized so badly that it wasn't safe to fix up anymore, and her plan never came to be. Daniela passed away peacefully in her sleep in July 2019 at age 72. The building that hosted so many of Derby's special moments sold for £745,000 in 2020, but it was too far gone to save. After going back and forth with planning applications, they finally got approval to turn it into apartments, with plans to knock it down in 2024. But then someone deliberately set fire to it in August 2024, making the building so unstable they had to speed up the demolition. Now it's completely gone, and the development company that was going to build the apartment say they don't own it anymore, so nobody really knows what's next for the site. Our story now takes us to College Park, Atlanta, where Michon's Smokehouse had become quite the local hotspot, all thanks to a guy named Al, who really knew his way around a smoker. When Gordon Ramsay came to visit, he found something heartbreaking. The restaurant's owner was stuck at home, watching everything through security cameras as his life's work started slipping away.
You watch your restaurant on a security camera?
Yeah. I've got about 18 cameras.
18 cameras?
Yeah, 18.
It all started back in 2002 when Al and his wife Gaye opened Michon's around Al's talent for smoking meats, hoping their daughter, Natalie, would take over the family business someday. But life threw them a curveball when Al's lung collapsed, forcing Natalie to take over sooner than planned. By the time Gordon showed up, they were $200,000 in debt.
Happy birthday, I'm looking for a big hug. It was really amazing.
Even with kitchen nightmares trying to help, the problems kept piling up. They closed the College Park spot in 2013 and tried opening in a few different places. Their downtown location burned down just 2 weeks after opening in March 2012, and their final try on Peachtree Center Avenue closed in early 2018. Al passed away in November 2018. Kitchen Nightmares fans come together on his timeline memorial page, sharing memories about his love for barbecue. You can't get Al's amazing barbecue anymore, but his story reminds us that behind every restaurant is a family's dream that can change in a heartbeat. Let's head back to New Jersey, this time to Cranberry, where Hannah and Mason's tried to make a name for itself as a French bistro just an hour from Manhattan. When Gordon stepped through the doors on Valentine's Day 2008, longtime server Marie found herself starstruck by the celebrity chef, who she thought was very cute.
When I saw him walk through the door, and I says, "Oh my gosh, look at this man."
She smiled warmly when Gordon showed her a photo of his wife, Kana, at the table. Eager to share her favorite dish, she recommended the French onion soup, a recipe she used to love, but had sadly gone terribly downhill. The situation turned dire when Gordon discovered week-old desserts and moldy food, forcing a Valentine's Day shutdown. Ramsay renovated and relaunched the restaurant, uniting the community in the process.
First course on 23 just went.
This tastes homemade. I didn't buy it.
Yet, despite the fresh start, old habits proved too strong. Hannah and Mason's closed in 2010. Marie, who passed away in July 2024 at age 60, never forgot her excitement about meeting Gordon Ramsay that day. Her obituary even mentioned that appearing on Kitchen Nightmares and meeting Gordon Ramsay was her dream come true. A hairdresser turned waitress turned florist, she remained a devoted fan of the show until the end, often sharing stories about her brief brush with TV fame at Hannah and Mason's. Our story moves to Los Angeles, where Burger Kitchen would become one of Kitchen Nightmares' most popular episodes, capturing a family drama that stretched from Hollywood to the Australian underworld. When Gordon Ramsay arrived in 2011, he found owner Allan Saffron at odds with son Daniel over $250,000, money that Allan had taken from Daniel's inheritance to fund the restaurant.
My son has a great deal of resentment towards me, and I don't know why.
The restaurant's struggles were immediate and severe. In just 16 months, Allan changed the menu 10 times and went through more than 20 servers and chefs. When Ramsay got to the Burger Kitchen, he was taken aback at the name of the current chef.
Executive Chef David Blaine?
Yes.
What, the magician?
No, he's not the magician.
He just happens to have the same name as the famous magician. Though David admits that he sometimes wished that he could vanish, as he often quarreled with both Allan and his wife Jen over the use of frozen Wagyu meat imported from Australia instead of fresh local beef. Behind this chaotic situation lay a complex family history. Allan's father was Abe Saffron, an infamous Australian mob boss known as Mr. Sin and the Gentle Satan of Sydney's underworld. When Abe passed away in 2006, he left substantial inheritance to both Allan and his grandson Daniel, the same inheritance that would later become a source of bitter conflict at Burger Kitchen. Before venturing into restaurants, Allan had built a successful career in entertainment, managing actors like Tobin Bell, later famous as Jigsaw in the Saw franchise, and co-producing films with Hollywood stars including Robert Downey Jr. Allan passed away in 2020 at age 71 from a heart attack, leaving behind a legacy that spawned entertainment, hospitality, and unresolved family tensions. Going back to the very first season of Kitchen Nightmares, we find ourselves in Islip, New York, where Gordon met one of the show's most memorable characters. At the helm of the Seascape Inn was Doug, a culinary school graduate who'd spent 38 years in kitchens, but seemed to have lost his way. Despite his impressive credentials from the Culinary Institute of America and claims of working in famous restaurants, Doug had developed some troubling habits in the kitchen. The waterfront location should have been perfect for fresh seafood. Instead, Gordon found microwaved frozen fish and, most shockingly, fish being stored in empty dog food bags in the walk-in. Things got even stranger when Gordon discovered a chunk of spoiled pork that Doug insisted on keeping, claiming he was going to eat it himself.
That's for you!
Yeah, the one with...
Don't eat it! Don't fucking eat it!
I already had.
But what really made television history was Doug's defiance. He became the first chef in Gordon's 21-year career to flat out refuse to taste one of his dishes, a perfectly prepared sea bass that Gordon had made to demonstrate proper technique.
I know what striped bass tastes like, and I'm familiar with this.
Doug, one more chance. You sure you don't want to taste that?
Positive.
Away from the chaos of the Seascape's kitchen, Doug was a different person entirely, an outdoorsman who loved hunting wild boar and fishing. He passed away in 2010 at just 54 years old. While Kitchen Nightmares caught him during a low point, his obituary painted the picture of a man who lived life fully outside those kitchen doors, reminding us that there's always more to someone's story than their worst moments on television. Our next stop takes us to Great Neck, New York, where one of Kitchen Nightmares' most emotional stories unfolded at Trobiano's restaurant. Gordon met Pat, who, along with her husband, Joe, had gambled everything they owned on a restaurant run by their daughter Tiffany's boyfriend, Anthony Trobiano. Pat and Joe had laid it all on the line, their house and their retirement fund, all because they believed in their daughter's future. In one of the show's most touching moments, Gordon actually provided a ring so Anthony could marry Tiffany right there in the restaurant, hoping the commitment might help turn things around. But even a parent's love and Gordon's help couldn't save Trobiano's. The restaurant was seized in 2008 for unpaid taxes, leaving the family devastated. Pat passed away in 2015, but her daughter Tiffany keeps her memory alive through loving social media tributes. Her story reminds us that restaurants aren't just businesses, they're places where family dreams live and die. Let's head to Minnesota, where the historic Calumet Inn had stood in Pipestone since 1887. When Gordon visited in 2014, he found the hotel had been purchased by Jim Smirkovsky for his daughters, Rena and Vonda, who, despite their father's good intentions, were struggling to keep it running. The sisters barely showed up to work, with Rena often away in Minneapolis, while Vonda wouldn't get out of bed before 3 p.m. Their mother, Rita, was working 7 days a week just to keep the place going, while the sisters blamed their staff for everything going wrong.
I feel like people come to work just to make tips and for their paycheck.
The episode reached its boiling point when Gordon had to send the sisters away in a taxi, even giving them a goldfish to prove they could be responsible for something. Yet, beneath this unforgettable TV episode lies an even more amazing tale about their father, Jim, who purchased the hotel for them. A farm boy turned linguist who could speak over a dozen languages, he survived 454 days in a Saudi prison in the 1980s, taught across the globe, and spent his later years exploring remote villages in China. He passed away in February 2024, reminding us that behind these Kitchen Nightmares stories are often complex family histories we never get to hear about on screen. We've saved perhaps the most heartbreaking story for the end. Heading back once more to New Jersey, we remember Joe Cerniglia, whose journey from talented chef to acclaimed restaurateur touched countless lives at Campagna in Fair Lawn. After a decade at New York's prestigious Gallagher's Steakhouse, Joe took the bold step of purchasing Campagna in 2006. When Gordon visited in 2007, he found a restaurant drowning in $80,000 worth of debt, but led by a chef whose raw talent and eagerness to learn shone through the struggles. Though his kitchen nightmares appearance included some tense moments.
Your business is about swim down the Hudson.
The experience transformed both Joe and Campagna. He embraced every change, introducing signature meatballs that would become legendary and streamlining his menu to focus on what he did best, creating extraordinary Italian food using local ingredients.
If people start bitching, the meatballs are going to come out of the kitchen.
Under Joe's leadership, Campagna became known not just for excellent food, but also for his passionate commitment to the slow food movement. On September 16th, 2010, Joe sold Campagna. Tragically, he passed away 8 days later at just 39 years old, leaving behind 3 sons.
Joseph Cerniglia, a New Jersey restaurant owner who previously appeared on an episode of Chef Gordon Ramsay's show Kitchen Nightmares, was found dead in the Hudson River. A body was found soon after a motorist reported seeing a man jump off of the George Washington Bridge. Cerniglia was depicted on the show as having financial issues. Ramsay once said that Cerniglia's business was going to, quote, swim down the Hudson. He had eerily predicted the troubled chef's fate.
His family made it clear that his death had nothing to do with Gordon Ramsay or Kitchen Nightmares, with his brother-in-law publicly expressing their respect for both. His obituary noted that he was honored to have his restaurant featured on Kitchen Nightmares, a final testament to a chef who found his greatest joy in feeding others. His story reminds us that success in the restaurant world isn't just about the food, it's about touching lives and bringing joy to others, something Joe did until the very end. The restaurant industry can be merciless, a world of razor-thin margins, crushing debt, and relentless pressure that grinds down even the strongest spirits. While Kitchen Nightmares capture their struggles in dramatic, hour-long episodes, the real battles continued long after the camera stopped rolling. Through their stories, we see the unvarnished reality of an industry that can lift you to great heights one moment and bring you crashing down the next. Perhaps these stories can serve as both a tribute to those we've lost and a stark reminder of the true cost of running a restaurant. For every success story we celebrate, there are countless others fighting silent battles behind their kitchen doors. To all those who've given their lives to the craft of feeding others, your passion, sacrifice, and dedication will not be forgotten.